Hi, welcome to Advancing Adventism. In this video, we're talking about the earliest Adventist materialist, George Storrs. Now, if you've heard of George Storrs before, you probably know of him as the one that introduced early Adventists to the truth about the state of the dead. But what you might not have known about him is that he was a materialist. And this means he was someone that believed that only matter exists. So he didn't think anything non physical or immaterial existed. We can say he was a philosophical materialist. And we can know this simply by reading the things that he wrote. So, what we're going to do is take a look at a statement that George Storrs makes that shows us that he indeed was a materialist. Now, the statement we're going to look at is taken from his 6 sermons on the inquiry: Is there immortality in sin and suffering? Originally, these were 6 sermons that George Storrs, just personally presented as sermons. And then he also had them printed and published so that they could be more widely distributed. And even though he never became a Seventh-day Adventist himself, the early SDAs promoted his 6 sermons, and you can see many instances of that in the Advent Review and Sabbath Herald. Now, if you'd like to read this today, you can find it on the EGW Writings website and also the Adventist Digital Library website. And we've got links for both of those down in the description. So the statement we're going to look at is taken from page 29, which you can see here on the screen. We're not going to read the entire page, but what we'll do is start at the very top where George Storrs is kind of just setting the context for things. He says, "It is said the soul is a simple essence, immaterial," and kind of goes on from there. And then we're going to jump down to about the middle of the page where he addresses this point of immateriality. Okay. So starting from the top, he says, "It is said the soul is a simple essence, immaterial, uncompounded, indivisible, indestructible, and hence immortal." So these are just the things that the soul is said to be. This is the common Christian understanding of the soul. It's supposed to be a simple essence, it's supposed to be immaterial, immortal, all these things. And then what George Storrs does is he goes through and addresses each one of these point by point. And so what we're going to do is jump down to the section on the soul being immaterial. So he says, what is immateriality? Strictly speaking, it is not material, not matter. And this is just simply the textbook definition of the word. This is just what the word itself means. So something that's immaterial is something that is not matter. In other words, it is not substance. What is that which has no substance? What kind of creation is it? If the Creator formed all things out of nothing, it would seem that man's soul has taken the form of its original and is nothing still, for it is not matter, we are told. If it is said it is a spiritual substance, I ask, what kind of substance is that if it is not matter? I cannot conceive, and I do not see how it is possible to conceive, of substance without matter in some form. It may be exceedingly refined. I regard the phrase immaterial as one which properly belongs to the things which are not. A sound without sense or meaning, a mere cloak to hide the nakedness of the theory of an immortal soul in man, a phrase of which its authors are as profoundly ignorant as the most unlearned of their pupils. Okay, now there's a couple of key spots we want to take a closer look at here that really stand out in showing us that George Storrs was a materialist, okay? And those 2 areas are the ones you see here in bold. And again, just keep in mind that George Storrs is talking about these things in the context of what the soul is said to be. So the soul is said to be immaterial. So he's addressing this idea of immateriality, okay? So just so it's fresh in our mind, let's go ahead and read the entire sentence. We're going to start here at the arrow where he says, if the Creator formed all things out of nothing, it would seem that man's soul has taken the form of its original and is nothing still, for it is not matter, we are told. Notice what George Storrs is saying here. So he's saying that man's soul is nothing. And the reason he's saying this is he says, for or because we're told it's not matter. As we read earlier, something that's immaterial is just simply not matter. So when he's saying the soul is not matter, he's saying the soul is immaterial. So because the soul is supposedly immaterial or said to be immaterial, George Storrs equates it with nothing. And then we'll come down here to where the arrow is now and read, I regard the phrase immaterial as one which properly belongs to the things which are not. Again, take note of what George Storrs is saying. He's saying this word immaterial, this phrase immaterial, is one that applies to things which are not. So this means things that don't exist. Okay. So he's using this word immaterial to apply to things which are non existent. And this is just a straightforward expression of materialism. This is something that only a materialist would say. So because of this, we can know for a fact that George Storrs was a materialist. And knowing this is really important because this is just one piece of many pieces of evidence that Seventh-day Adventism has roots in materialism. Now, if you'd like to learn more about that, we have a growing playlist on our channel with videos on materialism and how we can know immateriality does not exist. And we showcase other early Adventists as well and their statements on materialism. So feel free to check those out and feel free to contact us with any comments or questions. Thanks for watching.